Okay. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we shall start our class today. Just give me a second. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shwapada. Vande Ham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bhandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Panglung Lam Gayate Yirim Jat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Gurun Dinata. Hare Krishna. So welcome back all the devotees to our Bhakti Sastri Upadesamrita. So today we'll be discussing text number 4, 5, and 6. So this is actually one theme. So if we flash back to our previous classes, that text number 1 and 2 dealing with the pratikul. Yeah, pratikul means something which is not very favorable. Something which is not very favorable and should be rejected. Pratikulyasa sankalpa. So text number 3 to 7, that's dealing with the anukulyasa sankalpa. So we should accept this. Yeah. Having said that, in text number 2 and 3, it is discussed that actually jana sangha means associating with the materialistic people or basically non-devotees, jana sangha. So that should be avoided. And in text number 3, we discuss about the Sangha Tyaga. So Sangha Tyaga means we give up the bad association. Bad association means, of course, we don't associate with the worldly minded people. So we associate with the devotees. So today's discussion will be dealing about the association with the devotees, in which actually in our previous classes throughout this study of the Bhakti Sastri, we had plenty of discussion on associating with the devotees, but here more specifically, Rupa Goswami will be explaining in text number 4, association with the devotees, what constitutes association of the devotees. So there are 6 loving exchanges here. Yeah, Priti Laksana, so loving exchanges. And then in text number 5, we will be discussing about how should we deal with the 3 levels of devotees, namely the Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. And then in text number 6, we'll be discussing about we have to be very careful while dealing with the devotees. We should not judge them through their appearance. So we'll talk about that in detail. All right. So Upadesamrita, text number 4, 6 loving exchanges. Text 4 explains what association consists of. It also begins to explain how one should associate with devotees. Further instructions on how to associate with different types of devotees are found in text number 5 and 6. Okay. So this is text number 4. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyam akhyati prichati bhunte bhojayate chaiva sarvidham pritilakshana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Offering gift in charity, so this is dadati, and then pratigrinati, accepting charitable gifts. Guhyam akyati, it's revealing one's mind in confidence. And then prichati, inquiring confidentially, and to preach also. Bhunte means accepting prasad, and bhojayati, offering prasad. Bhojan seva, sometimes we find this word among the devotees. Bhojan seva. Bhojan seva means to feed the Lord and the devotees. Bhojan. So these are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So let's see Srila Prabhupada's purport. An experienced devotee explained. So this is regarding the Guhyamakyati. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learn from him. This is Guhyam Akyati Pricha. So Guhyam means confidential. So in the case of when we are facing some difficulties in our life, specifically in our devotional life, so as an inexperienced devotee, so actually everybody should pose themselves as an inexperienced devotee. So in this way we become humble, and then we approach whoever we consider a senior who can give us guidance. Yeah, so Guhyam means confidential. Sometimes we may face some critical, embarrassing situation dealing with our, let's say, lusty desire or any other types of anarthas in our heart. So this is confidential, and this kind of situation can be revealed to the person whom we really trust. So because we are facing this problem, so we have to find a solution. Guhyam Akyati means we reveal our heart. We reveal our heart to our senior or mentor, spiritual master, whoever we consider as our superior. So this is called Guhyam Akyati. And then Prichati, the senior devotees will preach to us, giving us solution and light. So when we do this is actually the symptoms of association. So association, giving gift, accepting gift. Yeah, this is also association. When a devotee distributes prasad, bhunte bhojayate chaiva. When a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respect. This is called bhunte bhojayate chaiva. So prasad, one should not reject, or should never reject prasad. Sometimes early in the morning, if you are pujari or you have deities at home, so you take bath and wear your clean cloth, you go to temple, and in case if somebody offer you prasad saying that this is from the Mangala Arati, this is directly offered from the deities, please accept. But how to deal with this kind of situation? We have to keep ourselves clean when we perform puja, worship to the deities. So we should not do worship with the cloth. We wear cloth that we eat. We eat prasadam, and that cloth is considered to be polluted. And actually, one should take bath. One should take bath again. change the cloth with another fresh one, and then perform worship. And how to deal with that? So just to honor, we can take very little amount. So we're not rejecting prasadam, and one should never reject prasadam. We should honor the prasadam. Very little, take it very little, just little honor, and put in our mouth and honor that. So in that way, we remain suci actually. In some extreme case, for example, like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, I'm sorry, my voice did a bit damage. So when he was in Jagannath Puri during Ekadashi, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would offer obeisances to Lord Jagannath's prasadam. In that way, actually, he's also honoring the prasadam. So mentally honoring the prasadam, because in Ekadashi he used to fast. So he just offers obeisances to the prasadam like that. And yeah, Prabhupada also talk here about inviting the devotees. What Srila Prabhupada mentioned here? We should also invite pure devotees. Pure devotees, Prabhupada said. We should invite pure devotees to our home, serve them prasadam. It is very interesting in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. In Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, it is described that Gaur Mohande, Srila Prabhupada's father, Prabhupada said, we belong to the middle class of society, but we never have any problem in our life. We don't have any financial problem. My father gave five daughters in marriage without difficulties, Prabhupada said. And then we used to honor at least five guests every day in our home, serve them prasadam. And Gaur Mohande indiscriminately inviting the sadhus to his home to take prasadam. So although sometimes he knew that, nowadays also this is common in India, that the so-called sadhus, in the morning they go out and wear saffron dress, and then in the evening they go home and engage with their wife and children, things like this. So Gaur Mohande indiscriminately invite those kind of sadhu, although he knows that this is impostor sannyas, but he's in the dress of sadhu. Okay, let's be honored. This is the Grihastha Dharma. So Srila Prabhupada explained that at least 5 guests every day. My father used to invite them and feed them without any difficulties. So this is the Grihastha Dharma. The Grihastha Dharma. When normally here we live in Mayapur, sometimes a sannyas, Gaudiya sannyas, they come to our place and asking for some alms. So should be never rejected. Yeah, we should give something to the sannyasis, although they are not belong to ISKCON, but still they're sannyasis. So we should honor, we should give something. And of course, that also, we should be very intelligent also. Srila Prabhupada never encouraged us to give money to the beggar. Yeah, but prasadam always encouraged. So we should give prasadam to the beggar, but never give money to the beggar. So this is Bhumte Bhajayate Chai. Srila Prabhupada actually here glorify our movement ISKCON. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kind of loving exchanges between devotees. So this is one of the purposes why ISKCON is established. So ISKCON is meant to facilitate this kind of Priti Lakshana, Sadvidham Priti Lakshana, this kind of 6 loving exchanges between the devotees. Yeah. This society was started single-handedly. He meant by, he was struggling alone. Srila Prabhupada, practically speaking, struggling alone. Even when he was in the USA, he met Dr. Radhakrishna. Dr. Radhakrishna, who is in India. He's also a yoga teacher, asking for help. Yeah, he helped a bit, but not so much. and he was writing to the Indian embassy in the USA, but Prabhupada never get any response. He is almost, desperate, but still he's hope against hope. Hope against hope means he's always having faith to Krishna. Utsaha Nischayadani, that's Srila Prabhupada's feature, Srila Prabhupada's characteristic. So Srila Prabhupada said here that this movement started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines, dealing strictly with subject matter of Krishna consciousness. Very interesting here, Srila Prabhupada said, because of our rigidness in preaching Krishna consciousness, especially with the dadati and pratigrihnati, giving and taking. Brahmananda Prabhu narrates his early days in ISKCON, how he joined ISKCON actually. Very interesting. He said that first time when he met Swamiji, Srila Prabhupada, so at that time he was a college teacher, I think school teacher, college teacher, something like that. Yeah, he was a teacher in a college or school. And he met Srila Prabhupada, and just a glance, he looked, Srila Prabhupada was distributing Srimad Bhagavatam in the street, and he was impressed. He said that Prabhupada was glowing. Prabhupada was glowing. I thought that he's God. I thought that he's God. He was glowing. And then he has his salary at that time, $500. And then Brahmananda Prabhu, Bruce at the time, he's still Bruce, Bhakta Bruce. So he handed this $500 to Srila Prabhupada and asked, can I get the whole set of your book? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, of course. And then he gave actually 3 volumes of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He gave that. And then Srila Prabhupada said, this is, the cost is only $27. And Brahmananda Prabhu said that I was very much impressed that he was not taking advantage of me, So he was handling $500, but Srila Prabhupada demanded only $27. But Brahmananda Prabhu said, no, you take all. And then since that time, so he decided to be a full-time devotee, And then he asked Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, should I quit my job? So should I quit my job and be a full-time devotee? Srila Prabhupada said, no. You continue your work. We still need a lot of funds to expand this movement. So yeah, so this movement, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, grow, expanding through this principle, dadati pratigrihnati, give and take. Even after Brahmananda Prabhu and Gargamuni Prabhu took initiation from Srila Prabhupada. So one day, their mother came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And then they have some conversation, and then Srila Prabhupada finally asked, I'm taking care of your children here. I feed them nicely. I train them nicely. Now they are well-behaved boys, a very nice boy. So in this way, I would like to ask a donation. Would you kindly give us some donation? Srila Prabhupada was asking Brahmananda Prabhu's mother. And then she said that, donation? I already donated my sons. I apologize. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, bro. Yeah, we can hear, bro, now. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize. I have some internet connection problem here. So where we were? Just a second.
I already donated my sons, bro.
Okay. Yeah. So Brahmananda Prabhu's mother said to Srila Prabhupada, I already donated my son. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, you donated your sons? Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada stopped there. Okay, here it is. Srila Prabhupada's continuation. His purport. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness invite the society's members and supporters to dine with them when they hold love feasts in all their branches every Sunday. Many interested people come to honor Prasad, and whenever possible, they invite members of the society to their homes and feed them sumptuously with Prasad. In this way, both the members of the society and the general public are benefited. So this is going on actually when people just get attracted. So we invite people to our center, and we have Sunday feast program, Sunday love feast program. That's what Srila Prabhupada called it, Sunday love feast program. We feed them. So naturally they will develop some kind of affection and they invite us to their home. So this is the loving exchange. If the members of human society actually want peace in mind, want peace of mind, tranquility and friendly relationship between man and nations, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion by which they can develop their dormant love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as people do so, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. So this statement, Srila Prabhupada's purport, actually reflects his mood and mission here. His mood and mission. So Srila Prabhupada is very much concerned about the present day situation. Present day situation full of war and friction between man and man, nation. So, but Srila Prabhupada explained, if this Krishna consciousness movement spread and people accept it, if people accept it, then there is no more problem. So this is Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. Just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we read the introduction of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explained about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the ideal preacher of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's opinion is that Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost Siddhanta. And then there is no higher opinion than this. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost Siddhanta to give us guidance in life. Tadvag visargo janataga viplava. So Tadvag, that creation, Tadvag visarga janataga viplava, can change actually the sinful, deviate human society. Janataga viplava yasmin pratislokam abadava. It's because Srimad Bhagavatam full of pratisloka in every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam has some potency to change others' heart, to change people's heart. Yasmin pratisloka. So pratisloka means in every verse, even in fraction of the verse, in every syllable. Pratislokam abadavati namani anantash. So full of Krishna's holy names, namani, He Anantasya. Ananta means unlimited. Anantasya, Yasho Nikitanya, and full of Krishna's glories. Krishna's and Krishna's devotees' glories. Yasha means glories. Yasho Nikitanya. Srinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Sada. Those who are honest, will hear. Sadhava means also the sadhu, the pious people. But Srila Prabhupada translated in that verse as those who are honest. So those who are honest will hear this. Srinvanti, Gayanti will glorify, will chant. Grinanti will accept the message of Godhead. So this message of Godhead can actually change people's heart. So that's Srila Prabhupada's moods and mission. Yeah. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake. This is a very nice analogy and very famous also, Srila Prabhupada used to quote. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. Kevalam visa vardana. If a snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent, Mayavadis, and karmas. Such disclosures will never help. It is best to avoid association with them completely and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give good advice. Nor should we extend invitation. Srila Prabhupada is very heavy here. Nor should we extend invitation to Mayavadis and atheists, nor accept their invitations. For by such intimate intermingle, we may become affected by their atheistic mentality. Sangat samjayate kama. So Srila Prabhupada is very clear here, mention about avoiding the non-devotees, especially the Mayavadis and the atheists. So Prabhupada said, nor should we invite them to our place, nor also we should accept their invitation. So their association should be completely avoided. So again, in the matter of preaching, activities, we may face different type of people, including the Mayavadis and atheists. So we have contact with them. Sometimes devotees ask, so Prabhupada said that we should avoid the Mayavadis and atheists completely. But in the matter of preaching, so we should preach also to them, right? So yes, the answer is that we should preach to everybody. But in the case of Mayavadis and atheists, because most of the cases they are very stubborn, they have their own philosophy. So we should not waste so much time with them. We can preach. If they reject, that's it. We should avoid them. Otherwise, they will end up by blaspheming the devotees and Krishna also. So yeah, like that. Interestingly, later in the next text, in the next verse, in his purport, Prabhupada said, we should invite everybody to our temple. We should sit and eat with them together. No matter whoever they are, we should invite everybody indiscriminately, something like that. We'll discuss that. But here, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Mayavadis and atheists should be avoided. But specifically, Srila Prabhupada mentioned about revealing our mind. Revealing our minds means searching for some solution. So we should never consult with them, the Mayavadis and the atheists. According to the Dadati principle, an advanced devotee is supposed to spend at least 50% of his income on the service of the Lord and his devotees. So this is Dadati, means to give. to give some gift. Srila Rupa Goswami has set such an example in his life. So we discussed this in the beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita, how Srila Rupa Goswami set an example how to spend one's earning. When he decided to retire, he distributed 50% of his life's earning to Krishna service and 25% to his relatives, and kept 25% for personal emergencies. This example should be followed by all devotees. Whatever one's income, 50% should be spent on behalf of Krishna and his devotees, and this will fulfill the demands of the deity. Srila Prabhupada said, whatever you earn should be utilized for Krishna service, 50%. The best example from Chaitanya Lila is Sridhar, Kolavecha Sridhar. Yeah. He's selling some banana stuff. Kola means banana. Banana leaves or banana trunks, banana fruits, banana flowers, whatever made of banana. So he sells also banana cups made of banana on the banks of Ganga, where people used to do puja to Ganga. And whatever little money that he gets, so he donates 50% for the worship of Mother Ganga. He is very poor. Materially speaking, he is very poor. He's very, very poor. But he always chant the holy names of the Lord, crying, calling the names of the Lord in ecstasy, in prema. So many people actually criticizes him, saying that, look at this fellow, poor fellow. He's very poor. He's very poor, and in the middle of night, he's just crying. He's howling because his stomach is empty. But actually, he was crying, calling out the names of Gauranga, the names of Krishna. He was in ecstasy all the time. This young boy always stealing my banana. He bargained my banana price in such a very, what do you say this, illogical price. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just snatched his banana and ran away. Of course, externally, he was chastising Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Never again come here. You should never come here anymore. You are finished. Our dealing is finished. But within his heart, at that time, my heart desire will be fulfilled, and that's actually the perfection in my life. So Kolavecha, always hoping. So in the middle of night, he cried. They don't understand actually the glories of the vice. They criticize him, saying that he's crying because his stomach is hungry. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifests his Mahaprakash Lila in the house of Srivas Thakur, so he was calling all the devotees one by one and asking them, what do you want? Tell me what boon you want, I shall grant. Then when Kolavecha Sridhar came, and then he asked Kolavecha Sridhar, hey Sridhar, I'm very pleased with your service. Please ask me now Vaikuntha. If you ask me Vaikuntha, I shall give you now without any delay. Please ask me anything you want. And then Sridhar said that, my Lord, what is the use of this opulence? Even opulence that offered, that serve in Vaikuntha planets. What is the use of if one is devoid of bhakti? So I just want that form, he said, that form of a young boy with the long hair, with the golden complexion, with the beautiful sacred thread, just like Ananta Shesha on his chest, come again and again to steal my bananas. That was his wish. That was his wish. Anyway, if we talk about this pastime, we'll never end up. But once we enter into uh, the pastime of the Lord, we sometimes, carry out. So I should follow the flow of this course anyway. So that's how we should spend, ideally, how we should spend our earnings, 50% of whatever income we get for Krishna consciousness. But in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that if we cannot spend 10% of our income, 10% means the entire income, at least 50. If no 50, at least 10. If not 10, at least 1% you should give to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in one lecture of the Bhagavad Gita. At least 1% you should give them in the service of the Lord. So with that 1%, actually, especially for those who are grihastha, with that 1%, our possession, our wealth will be purified. So the mind will be purified by honesty, satyam. The word will be purified by swadhyaya, studying of the Vedas. The body will be purified by water, taking bath. And the wealth will be purified by dana, charity. So yeah, that's about the six loving exchanges, the dati, prati, grinati, vikati, prichati. So in the next verse, Srila Rupa Goswami inform us what kind of Vaishnava should be selected as a friend and how Vaishnavas should be served. Okay, that's the end of our discussion on this text number 4 regarding the 6 loving exchanges between the devotees, among the devotees. So when we talk about association, this what association means. It consists of the 6 items. Yeah. So when we go to watch movie together with the devotees, material movie, talking about material movie. So this is not association. We may mingle with the devotees, but what are our activities? So that's not considered as association. All we play football with the devotees. This is not association. Yeah. But association means there should be spiritual interaction, spiritual activities, giving gift, accepting gift, yeah, and then revealing our heart, especially when we have some, problem in our devotional practice. So it's good to approach another devotees to consult, and the senior devotees will give guidance, shada. So that's clear. Whether any questions or comments, would appreciate it before we move to the next verse. Okay. All right. So we shall move to the next verse, text number 5. So association according to the levels of advancement. So now we are talking about the 3 levels of devotees. In order to properly apply the 6 loving exchanges described in the previous verse, one must select proper persons with whom to reciprocate. The kind of Vaishnava that should be chosen as a friend and how one should deal with different kinds of Vaishnava is the subject matter of this verse. All devotees should be respected, but in order to make spiritual advancement, we must associate with serious devotees and distance ourselves from casual association. So this is the text number 5. Krishne Diyasya Giritam Manasadriyeta Diksasti Chet Pranatibischa Bhajantamesham Sushrusaya Bhajana Vidyam Ananyam Anya Nindadi Sunya Hridam Ipsita Sangalabhya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation or diksha. and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So from this verse, it's clear actually what to do with the Kanistha, how to behave with Kanistha, Madhyama, and Uttama. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. In order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select Therefore, advice is that we should meet with the Vaisnavas in an appropriate way according to their particular status. In this verse, it tells us how to deal with three types of devotees: the Kanistadikari, Madhyamadikari, and the Uttama. The Kanistadikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. How to deal with them? One should respect such a person within his mind as a Kanistha Vaishnava. Interesting, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here. Who is Kanistha? A devotee who just get the Harinam Diksha. And Prabhupada said, one who try to chant the holy name. One who try. If we read this very carefully and contemplate on what Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, why he's saying that one who try after getting the Harinam Diksha, most of us, I'm not talking about anybody here, but I'm talking about myself. Yeah, and most of the devotees think that now I'm becoming senior because I got the title of Das. I got the title of Das at the end of my name. For example, like Vishnu Rata Das. Now I'm a senior because I already initiated. Yeah. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this actually a Kanistha devotee, one who just take Harinam Diksha and just try to chant because we're still chanting offensively. So we are trying to chant Krishna's name. We are not yet on the level of Sudhanam chanting, on the level of pure chanting. We still offensively chanting the holy name. So this is Kanistha. Of course, Srila Prabhupada quoted a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is Kanistha or Prakrita Bhakta. Archayam evaharaye pujam yasradaye hate natad bhaktesu chanyesu sa bhakta prakrita smita. So this is the characteristic symptoms of the Kanistha. Archayam evaharaye. They have faith only to the deities, but they disregard the devotees and people in general. They don't respect the devotees and people in general. Sa bhakta prakrita smita. So that kind of devotees, they are considered as Kanistha, and their faith is actually very fragile, very delicate, very not so strong, not strong faith. This is Kanistha. Therefore, it's easy for them to be deviated. Then how to deal with, how to behave with Kanistha? So respect them within the mind. As Srila Prabhupada said that we should respect all the devotees. We should respect all the devotees. But what about those who love to criticize others? So we respect them in the distance, but we don't associate with them. So we should choose with whom we should associate. And then the Madhyama. A Madhyamadikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of Lord. So this is talking about the devotees who has undergone the second initiation and serving the deities of the Lord, yeah, fully engaged in the love, the loving service of the deities. So serving the deities. The Madhyamadikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. Now, this is also should be clear for all of us here. It doesn't mean all those Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, this is the symptoms of the Madhyama, right? One who has undergone initiation from the spiritual master and engaged in the deity worship. That means unless you get a sacred thread, you cannot engage in the deity worship. Srila Prabhupada explained here that this is the Madhyamadikari. But this should be clear for all of us that it is not that as soon as we get second initiation, now I'm situated in a Madhyama level. Now I'm situated in a Madhyama level. I'm a Madhyamadikari. Well, we may practice Krishna consciousness for hundreds of years, but if we remain critical to others, then we're still on the level of Kanishta. We're still on the level of Kanishta. The Madhyamadikari should be considered to be situated in midway in devotional service. And then the Uttamadikari, or the highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. An Uttamadikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the association and service of such a Mahabhagavat or perfect Vaishnava are most desirable. So here, how we behave with the Kanishta, we respect them in our mind. Okay, we avoid their association, but we respect them in our mind. And then the Madhyama, we should offer obeisances to them. And then the Uttama Bhakti, the Uttama Bhaktas, so we should associate and serve them, because they're completely free from blaspheming others. So why? Because they see every living entity is actually devotees. So they find no fault. Therefore, they don't criticize because they don't see any fault in others. Yeah, vidya vinaya sampani brahmanika kastini sunichaiva swapakecha pandita samadhas. So this is the vision of the Uttamadikari. Yeah, pandita samadhas, a very learned person. A real learned person will see in such a way that vidya, by his knowledge, and vinaya means humility. So from knowledge will automatically come humility. Vidya vinaya sampani. So this is the Brahmana, Gavi, the cow, Hasti, the elephant, Sunichaiva Swapakecha, the dog and the dog eaters, on the same vision, because he sees the spirit soul, and in that body resides the Paramatma also, not only the Jiva, who's the pure part of the Lord, but he is the Lord himself accompanying that spirit soul. Therefore, the Mahabhagavata devotee don't find fault to others. Therefore, they don't blaspheme. Okay, so this is about the Uttama, the Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama, and then how we should deal with them. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that one should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. So we should uplift ourselves to the platform of Madhyama. Yeah, one should not remain in Kanishta. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanistadikari to the platform of Madhyamadikari. And what is the symptom of the Madhyama? First, he worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love. Yeah, worship Krishna, worship the deity, makes friends with the Lord's devotees. Make friends means no criticism. Yeah, making friends, sex loving exchanges. He does that. And then merciful toward ignorance. So he preached merciful toward ignorance. And then avoid those who are envious by nature. So the symptoms, actually this Kanista Madhyama Uttama, we discussed also in the Sri Sopanishad, you remember. This is called Nirupeksha, avoiding those who are envious by nature. This is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. We can see from practical experience that there are different types of Vaishnavas. The Prakrita Sahajas generally chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, yet they are attached to women, money, and intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet properly purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but their association should be avoided. This is about the Kanista. Those who are innocent, but simply carried away by a bad association, should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instruction from pure devotees. But those neophyte devotees who are actually initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and are seriously engaged in carrying out the orders of the spiritual master should be offered respectful obeisances. So to the Madhyama, we should offer obeisances. Literally meaning obeisances, really meaning offer obeisances. Bow down, bow in your body. This is what I refer to that statement where Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the previous verse. He said that we should not invite the Mayavadis, nor should we accept their invitation. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, in this Krishna consciousness movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Everyone is invited to join this movement. Sit with us, take prasad, and hear about Krishna. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for a chanting of the holy name of God. See, in the previous verse, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that we should not invite the Mayavadas. But here, Srila Prabhupada said that we invite everybody. We invite everybody. So it seems to be contradiction, but it's actually in one hand, it is not. So Srila Prabhupada referring here, okay, let's analyze the first one. Srila Prabhupada referred to that one is that we should not associate with the Mayavadis. We should not closely intermingle with the Mayavadis and with the atheists. We should avoid them as much as we can. So we can, sometimes we meet and we talk, but we should not disclose our heart. We should not have this kind of pretty laksana, sadvidam pretty laksana, sex loving exchanges with them. And what Srila Prabhupada meant here by everybody, so we may think that, what about the Mayavadi? Everybody means everybody. What about the Mayavadi? They also included. Srila Prabhupada said we invite them. And we invite the sincere people. Everybody, those who are sincere, we invite them. We welcome everybody. Means we don't restrict any individuality to come to our temple, despite of anything. But we avoid their association if they are atheists or Mayavadis. But generally, those who visit our temple, generally they will become attracted and then later on become sincere, and then as Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, those who are sincere, if they are asking for initiation, we give them initiation. Of course, nowadays we find that there's so many policies, this and that, have to pass this on disciple course to get initiation. If you want to be second initiated devotee, you have to pass the Bhakti Sastri. So many rules and regulations. But those days, Srila Prabhupada was so merciful that Even people just joining a few days, Srila Prabhupada just announced, okay, he will let his secretary announce that on such and such day, probably like 2 or 3 days, he will visit this particular temple, and there will be initiation. Those who want to be initiated, please come forward. So that was the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. That was the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, nowadays we have to be trained up because our movement is growing. Even in 1971, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to his disciple, Rupanuga Prabhu. He wrote that now it's time for us to churn the milk. Srila Prabhupada said, now it's time for us to churn the milk. Our movement is growing. That means what? Our movement is growing, and we have to be very selective. If you want to take initiation, you have to know rules and regulation, chanting 16 rounds, follow 4 regulative principles. Yeah. Boil the milk. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada said, boil the milk. Yeah, boil the milk and churn the milk. From milk, you make butter, make it thicker. What do you call this? Sweet burfi. Yeah, burfi. This condensed milk, boil it in a low flame and keep churning it. Keep stirring it, and it becomes thick. So that's condensed milk. What? Koya? Never heard this. In the chat, you will find koya. Anyway, so this thick milk, that's actually very, very sweet. Very. So we have to be very selective. And Srila Prabhupada wrote that in the 1971. So therefore, it is not something which is that astonishing that nowadays sometimes we find there are so many rules and regulations in regard of taking initiation, because we should be very clear. We should be very at least basic philosophy. We should master basic philosophy. There is a course actually called the Bhakti Pravesh. Somewhere I have that. Bhakti Pravesh is a course, an introductory course to Krishna consciousness. We learn all the basic philosophy. We learn who is Srila Prabhupada, what is Bhagavad Gita, who is Guru, things like this. Relationship between Guru and disciple. Hopefully in the future, we may conduct this course. Hare Krishna. All right, so everybody, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, sit with them, take prasadam, and hear about Krishna. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as disciple for the chanting of the holy name. All right. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting prescribed numbers of rounds of japa, beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such Vaishnavas should be accepted as an Uttamadhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should always be sought. Now, we may also think that this seems to be the description of the Madhyama Adhikari, because many times we read that the Uttama Adhikari general, they don't preach. They don't preach. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that they always thinking about how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnava should be accepted as Uttama Adhikari. So Uttama Adhikari, do they preach or not? Many times we heard that they don't preach, but they also preach. For example, like Gaur Kishoradas Babaji Maharaj, he is definitely an Uttamadhikari. Srila Prabhupada also an Uttamadhikari, no doubt about it. Sometimes we heard the explanation that in order to preach, the Uttamadhikari should come down to the level of Madhyama. But it doesn't mean that they become degraded. No, they remain an Uttamadhikari, but they behave just like the Madhyamadhikari. Otherwise, if you remain in such a very, I mean, like with such a behavior as an Uttamadhikari, so you cannot discriminate who is fallen, who is in Maya, and who is not. Because you see, everybody is engaging in Krishna's service. Even if you are in Maya, the Uttamadhikari will think that, oh, Maya is also Krishna's energy. So you are engaged in Krishna's energy. That means because Krishna and his energy is non-different, so you are also serving Krishna. Then when we discuss the Uttamadhikari, when they want to preach, they come down to the level of Madhyama. Please make a note that it doesn't mean that they become degraded. No, they remain an Uttamadhikari, but they behave just like the Madhyamadhikari. Therefore, they will see, oh, these people are suffering, they are in Maya, so let me help. So they always think about how to expand Krishna consciousness. So just like Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Sometimes we think that this Babaji, they don't preach. But if we read his biography, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, actually he's also preaching. How he preached? Through his example. Always constantly in love with Krishna, chanting the holy names of the Lord in his beads. Sometimes people will come to him and ask him for a blessing, for mercy, for what do you call this? Asirbad, for Asirbad Baba. Generally in India, those who are wearing a saffron dress, the general people will call them the Asirbad Baba. And means this Baba can award you some benediction, Asirbad benediction. So in his pastime, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was approached by one businessman. This businessman asking for Asirbad, give me benediction so my business will become successful. And what he did, he tear off his coffin, and then he gave to this man. Take this. This is my Asirbad for you. May you become spiritually advanced. And this guy just running away because he's afraid. If he becomes spiritually advanced, he will give up his materialistic way of life and his wealth. So he's afraid he ran away. And one time also one couple from Calcutta, new married couple, came from Calcutta sincerely approaching Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, asking about how a grihastha should live. So Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj explained the ideal way how to live as grihastha. So he's also preaching. Yeah, he's also preaching. Uttamadhikari also preach. But he should behave like the Madhyama. He should behave like the Madhyama. Otherwise he can preach. But note again, it doesn't mean that they degrade. They become degraded. No, that's not the understanding. They remain an Uttamadhikari. Just like Srila Prabhupada. He is an Uttamadhikari. But what he did, he's preaching Krishna consciousness. One becomes qualified as devotee on the elementary platform, the intermediate platform, and the highest platform of devotional service according to the development of his Shraddha, faith. So this is the statement here about Shraddha, faith. Differentiate, actually. Faith will define whether one is Kanistha, Madhyama, or Uttama. So the Kanistha has very little faith, and also he's not spiritually inclined, he's not spiritually learned, he's not philosophically well versed. Yeah, that is Kanistha. His faith is weak, philosophically also he's weak. That's Kanistha. And then the Madhyama, his faith is strong, although sometimes we see that philosophically he is not so strong. But sometimes when he has some arguments with the non-devotees, sometimes he gets defeated, but he will not deviate because he has strong faith. This is Madhyama. And the Uttama, he has strong faith, and he's also philosophically well-versed, perfect, learned. And the symptoms of Uttama also, Uttama Bhakta also, that as soon as he says something, he can influence others and convert others to become devotee. This is the symptoms of Uttama Bhakta also. By seeing his power to convert others into Vaishnavas. So it's Uttama Bhakta. Okay. When a person realizes himself to be an eternal servitor of Krishna, he loses interest in everything but Krishna's service. Or this is supposed to be number 2. So always thinking of Krishna. Satatam Kirtanam. Devising means by which to spread the holy name of Krishna. He understands that his only business is spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Such a person is to be recognized as an Uttama. So these are the 3 characteristics of the Uttama Adhikari. He loses taste for material enjoyment. Yeah, Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvato Vimuddham, and always thinking about Krishna. Savayamana Krishna Padarayataya, and he will preach and thinking how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So this is the symptoms of characteristic of the Uttama Adhikari. Yeah. Of course, I put here the verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam about the who is Uttama Bhakta. We find this verse. Sarva Bhutesriya Pashyad Bhagavan Bhavamatmana Putani Bhagavatyatmani Esa Bhagavatuttama. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. This is the symptom or characteristic of the Uttama Bhakta. There's no mention here about preaching. Right? There's no mention here about preaching. But Srila Prabhupada, this purport in his commentary explanation, mentioned that the Uttama Bhakta always think of how to share Krishna consciousness with others. So of course in the purport, this verse is quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, Yomam Pashyati Sarvacha. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, Sarvam Chamayi Pashyat. I'm never lost, nor he's ever lost to me. Okay, that's just a small comparison, but Srila Prabhupada's words is not at all contradicted, actually, because sometimes devotees think that what Srila Prabhupada mentioned like this seems to be contradictory with what Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures. No, it is not. The Uttama Adhikari will remain Uttama Adhikari like this, sees everything in relation to the Lord, sees everything in relation to the Lord. But when he preached, he just behaved just like the Madhyama, but he remained. All right. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanistha Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and the Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate the devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert manifold souls to Vaishnavism. See, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned, who is an Uttama Adhikari? Uttama Adhikari is seen by his ability to convert others to into Vaishnavism, to preach Krishna consciousness, because he is empowered. Jadi papi chadi dharma dure des mara mora senapati bhakta yaive tathaya. So he's empowered by Krishna. Krishna Sakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravat. Without the empowerment of Krishna Sakti, we cannot spread the Kali Kalera Dharma, Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Krishna Sakti Bina Nahi Tarapra. We cannot spread the Sankirtan movement. So if we get the Krishna Sakti empowerment from Krishna, that means we are eligible to preach. And that ability is only possessed by the Uttama Bhaktas to preach Krishna consciousness. It doesn't mean that the Madhyama always fail to preach. No, they preach. So in that way, actually, by preaching, they uplift their position from the Madhyama into Uttama. And most of the cases, because Krishna also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that Lachatasman Manusheshu Kashinme Priya Kritamaha Bhavitana Chametasman Anya Priyatarupu. There's no other person is most dear to Krishna than the preacher. The preacher is very dear to Krishna. So actually, when we try to preach Krishna consciousness, although sometimes we may feel that actually, I'm not at all qualified to preach. But if we sincerely try to preach Krishna consciousness, if we sincerely try to preach Krishna consciousness, so empowerment will come through that sincerity. And in that way, actually, we get our advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because, when we really feel that we are unqualified, so we become more serious in our practice. Because we will think that, how can I preach? How can I preach if I'm not qualified? First of all, I should be a qualified devotee. To preach, you should become serious devotee. Otherwise, your preaching activities will not bear any fruit. So first, we have to become serious in our practice. So through preaching activities, actually, we gain spiritual advancement because we become more serious in our practice. There is a story of Mahatma Gandhi. One lady, she has a child always eating sweet. She told his child that please stop eating this sweet. This is not healthy. But her child just ignored her. So she walked far distance just to meet Mahatma Gandhi, just to meet Gandhi, and begged to Gandhi that please, can you help me? Ask my child to stop eating sweet. And then Gandhi said that, okay, I will help you, but not now. You please go home and please come back after 2 weeks. And then this lady was wondering why. And Gandhi said, just do it. And then this lady went back by walk. Those days, transport is very difficult. And then she returned to Gandhi after 2 weeks. And then she said, can you help me? Please ask my child to stop eating sweet. And then Gandhi said, okay, now I'm ready. Let's go home. Let's go to your place. And then Gandhi came to this child, and Gandhi said that, please stop eating sweet now. And then this lady was wondering why you didn't do it 2 weeks ago when I approached you. It's so troublesome, I have to walk far distance just to meet you, begging from you, just to request my child to stop eating sweet. And Gandhi said that, why I asked you to return after 2 weeks? Because during this 2 period, I tried to control myself from eating sweet. Because when you came, I was fond of sweet, but now I stopped eating sweet. So this 2 weeks period is actually my transformation to stop eating sweet. And Gandhi said, unless I myself practice it, I cannot tell others, because my word will not be, will not strong, will have no any effect. So similarly, preaching in Krishna consciousness also like that. I cannot tell you to go to Mangala Arati every day unless myself going to Mangal Arati every day. Otherwise, I'm simply a hypocrite, just hypocritical. This is hypocritical. Yeah. This is called pasandi, pretender. I'm telling others to go to Mangal Arati, but I myself not doing it. So it's pretending. And my word will not be so effective because I'm not practicing. So similarly, we ask people to, join this Krishna consciousness movement, be serious. Unless ourselves serious practicing Krishna consciousness, our word will not be so true. So through preaching, we can improve our spiritual advancement, and we will upgrade ourselves from the Madhyama level to the Uttama. But at least we should situate ourselves immediately, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned. Immediately we should situate ourselves in the Madhyama level. Otherwise, if our faith is shaken all the time, there is a chance, always there is a chance to fall them. Yeah, although we know philosophically that there is no loss and diminution, we have become analysis, but we should not take granted of this kind of verse, although it is true. Yeah. All right, that's the end of the text number 5. Were there any questions or comments before we move? We still have 14 minutes here to finish up our today's discussion. Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to say thank you, Prabhu. This weekend on Janmashtami, we are planning to do the fundraising for our new temple. And I was chanting this morning and thinking about some content. And then when you speak about this 50% and 1%, I was thinking Paramatma is inspiring you to speak something, and I'm getting all this content. Yeah.
Right.
And again, when you talk about the example of Mahatma Gandhi and sugar, so this start from thing is first I have to start giving to the temple, then I can ask other people to give fund for the temple, right? So it starts from home.
Right.
Very inspiring, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Okay. We continue to the next verse. Text number 6. Associating with a pure devotee. Text 6 discusses further how we should associate with devotees, especially with the spiritual master, who is understood to be transcendentally situated. Okay, this is the verse. I would like to ask some volunteer here to chant this verse. Anybody just unmute yourself and chant this verse, please. Don't let me to call on it.
Hare Krishna.
Udaksha Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, you go ahead, Prabhu.
Who is that? Okay, Kumudaksha Prabhu, please.
Dristai svabhava janitarvapuschadossair aprakritatam iha bhakta janasya pasya gangabasam nakalu dubudapena pankair brahma dravatvam apagachati niradharmaihi.
Can you read also the translation by Srila Prabhupada, please?
Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such devotees should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body, born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a disease, or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy seasons are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the conditions of the water.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Upadesamrita Prabhu. Yeah, this verse is actually an analogy. So Rupa Goswami comparing the body of a pure devotee and Mother Ganges. So the body of a pure devotee, although externally we may see imperfection, they may born in the low class, in the low caste of family. For example, like Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family. Prahlad Maharaj was born from Hiranyakashipu, the demon's family. But a pure devotee will never get polluted despite of anything. Sometimes we see the body of a pure devotee deformed, or full of imperfection externally. We are talking about the gross external body here. But their body is actually, if we touch the body of pure devotee, because the body of a pure devotee is actually just like moving holy place. Bhavad-vida, Bhagavata, Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibhu Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani Shvantastena. So if you touch the body of a devotee, pure devotee, so you will get purification. So the message that we learn here is that never judge a pure devotee from its appearance. Never judge the pure devotee from how he looks. Just like Mother Ganges. So this is the comparison. Just like Mother Ganges. Sometimes during rainy season, now here in Mayapur, rainy season, Mother Ganga is, raising up. The devotees here a little bit freaked out that where there will be flood. Hopefully no flood here. Mother Ganga now is very, very close with the main road. So anyway, so during rainy season, sometimes a lot of bubbles, form, and then mud also becomes muddy. Mother Ganga becomes darker. But an advanced devotee never think that this water is polluted. No, even if a dead body touching Mother Ganga will remain pure. Mother Ganga is always pure. So an advanced devotee will take bath in Mother Ganga. So Mother Ganga will never get polluted, actually. It's interesting, there is one pastime, Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada had his morning walk with few disciples. So he walked on the banks of Ganges early in the morning, where when most of the people are still sleeping early in the morning. Srila Prabhupada had a morning walk, and when he arrived on the banks of Ganga, Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples that, okay, now let's take bath in Ganga. And then I think that was Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that, but Prabhupada, we don't bring our gamcha. Srila Prabhupada said, no, we don't need gamcha. We just wear a kopin, that's enough. There's no ladies here, Srila Prabhupada said. And all his disciples who followed him in that morning walk was looking at each other. And Srila Prabhupada said, what are we waiting for? And Prabhupada took off his kurta, took off his dhoti, just with the kopin, enter Mother Ganga, dip 3 times, and get out. And all his disciples followed like that, and dressed normally. So that's how was simple. Srila Prabhupada was so simple, actually. Okay, Mother Ganga is there. Take opportunity, take bath. Take bath in Mother Ganga. Mahapavitra, Nimnaganam Yathaganga. Amongst all the holy rivers, Mother Ganga is the holiest river, because Mother Ganga, she emanates directly from the toe of the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealing with Mother Ganga is so unique that actually it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that Vrindavan Das Thakur mentioned. Bancha Kalpataru Sri Gaur Sundar Janani Bancha Purna Kore Niranta. So Vanchakalpataru, Sri Gaurasundar. So Sri Gaurasundar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Kalpataru, just like desire tree. And Janani Vancha, so Janani means mother, but here this mother refers to Mother Ganga. Janani Vancha, and whatever Mother Ganga desired, Janani Ganga, Purna Kore. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always fulfilled that desire. How often? Nirantar, all the time, all the time. So it's such a relationship between Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Mother Ganga. Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, in this world, I have two mothers. One is Mother Sachi and one is Mother Ganga. So Ganga is always pure. Her water is always pure, despite of anything. So similarly, the body of a pure devotee is always pure, just like moving holy place. Sometimes we see that he is born or she is born in the low family, Muslim family, Chandala family, but that's not the way how we judge the devotee. So therefore, you should be very careful. Chandal Dvija Srestha, Hari Bhakti Parayana, Hari Bhakti Vihinacha, Dvijopi Swapacho. Very nice verse. Chandalupi Dvija Srestha, Hari Bhakti Parayana. Even if one is born in the Chandala family, dog eaters family, if he has Hari Bhakti Parayana in his heart, Hari Bhakti in his heart, Chandalopi Dvija Sestra, he is even better than the Dvija, the Brahmana. But in the contrary, Hari Bhakti Vihinastra, Dvijopi Swapacho Adam. If one is born in the family of a Brahmana, Dvija, but he has no Hari Bhakti, then Swapacho Adamaha, he is considered even lower than the dog eater, Swapacho. Very nice verse. Should not judge, as the saying goes, should not judge the book by its cover. Avya Vicharin Bhakti, of course, Srila Prabhupada quoted that verse, Mam Chayo Avya Vicharin Bhakti Yogena Se Sagunan Samatitaikan Brahma Bhuyaya Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada mentioned Avya Vicharini Bhakti means unalloyed devotion. So those who engage in pure devotion immediately will transcend the three modes of material nature. Sagunan Samatitaikan. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed toward material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. And if it is aimed toward serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. A surrendered soul serves Krishna without material consideration. So this matter we discussed today. Act of devotion. In that verse, Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material conditions, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfect. This is very fascinating statement here. Srila Prabhupada mentioned, unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. That means if we are not actually a devotee, if we are still, having a lot of anarthas in our heart, so sometimes we misunderstood the devotees. We misunderstood the devotees' behavior. Just like in the Chaitanya Lila, a lot of interesting pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When the devotees, anyway, time is up. Please give me another 10 minutes to cover up this. When devotees from Bengal travel to Jagannath Puri for the Ratha Yatra festival, and actually their main reason to travel is not for the festival, Ratha Yatra festival, but they want to see Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Sivananda Shen, is the in charge of, accommodation and prasada. So because he's a rich man, so he will facilitate all the accommodation and prasada. But at that time, it happens that prasadam was late. Devotees didn't get their accommodation on time, and prasadam was late. So the first group arrived with Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu was so angry, was so upset that he said that this Sivananda Sen is imposter. This Sivananda Sen is not at all devotee of the Lord. He behaved improperly. I'm so hungry, and all these devotees traveling from Bengal to Jagannath Puri by a walk. There's no train at the time. By a walk. Now they are feeling so hungry, and this Sivananda Sen, this rascal, did not make proper arrangement. I shall punish him. Call Sivananda Sen. Sivananda Sen came, was informed that Nityananda Prabhu was calling. Sivananda Sen came, and then immediately Nityananda Prabhu kicked his chest. Immediately kick his chest and start blasting on Sivananda Sen. You shall be doomed, you are cursed, your family will be doomed. And then the wife of Sivananda Sen, hearing the anger of Nityananda Prabhu and the curse, well, not exactly the curse, but Nityananda Prabhu was in his angry mood, saying that your family will be doomed, your children will die, things like this. And his wife, Sivananda Sena's wife, was crying that Nityananda Prabhu is very upset and nobody can contract this kind of curse. But Sivananda Sen said that, why you are such a foolish lady? Why you cry? Why you cry? This curse, this punishment from Nityananda Prabhu is the greatest benediction. What can be greater than that? I got the imprint, his lotus feet imprinted on my chest. I got the dust of his lotus feet on my chest. What can be better than this? What can be greater benediction than this? And his curse that our children will die, this and that, and so on, our family will do. That's actually the greatest benediction. Because whatever he said, when a great soul utter a benediction, giving a boon, or utter a curse, that's actually not different. So Sivananda Sena said that you are a foolish lady. you are such a fool. This is great benediction. And later on, actually, his nephew, Sivananda Sena's nephew, Nishikan came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and reported, actually, he was lamenting on the behavior of Nityananda Prabhu, that the prasadam was delayed. That's actually not a big mistake, but he was behaving in such a, he said, unnecessary act. He was kicking my uncle. He was blaspheming my uncle. So he was expressing his disappointment to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he was a small boy. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand that just a small boy is carried out by his sentiment. So now, come back to that statement again. Sorry for this long pastime. Come back to that statement again, that unless we are devotee, sometimes we may misunderstand other devotees. So first we should become devotee, otherwise we cannot understand other devotees. So Nityananda Prabhu is actually, no doubt, he's a Mahatma, he's a great devotee. But due to our anartha, sometimes we misunderstand his behavior, just like the wife and the nephews of Sivananda Sen. But Sivananda Sen himself, being a great devotee of the Lord, take it as great benediction. Let's continue a few more lines. Even though a pure devotee may not be born in a Brahmana or Goswami family, if he is engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswami based on material consideration, caste, or heredity. According to this formula, Goswamis, who are descendants of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu, are certainly devotees, but devotees coming from other families should not be discriminated against. Indeed, whether the devotees come from family of previous acharyas or from an ordinary family, they should be treated equally. One should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami, and discriminate against him. Nor should one think, here is a Nityananda Vamsa Goswami, there is an undercurrent of protest against our awarding the title Goswami to the American Vaishnavas of the Krishna consciousness movement. So we discussed this also in Nectar of Devotion about the Nityananda Vamsa claiming themselves only bona fide Vaishnavas. But Prabhupada said, no, that's not the case. And interestingly, Sri Prabhupada mentioned here, in other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of Goswami, but is not born of a Brahmana father or a Goswami, or of a Goswami in the family of Nityananda or Advaita Prabhu, should not be artificially puffed up by thinking that he has become a Goswami. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. Significant statement. So this is about the Hatimata offense that can destroy our garden. That's Vaishnava Parad, when we think bad about another Vaishnavas. So Vaishnava Parad, criticizing a pure devotee, commits an offense. This is Vaishnava Parad. Spiritual master must not. This is regarding the gurus, because the theme of this verse is that how we should be very carefully dealing with the Vaishnavas and also especially with our Guru. When we think that our Guru, definitely he's not God, but because he's the representative of God, he's as good as God. And we should not consider him as ordinary human being. Once we think that he's ordinary human being, then immediately we'll fall from our spiritual practice. The spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should the spiritual master be obliged to take instruction from those who are not his disciple. This is the sum and substance of Srila Rupa Goswami's advice in the 6th verse. So advice here means spiritual advice, how to advance in spiritual practice. We should not instruct our spiritual master in that kind of topic, how to advance in spiritual practice, because he knows better than us. But advice in terms of how to, deal with material gadget, for example, well, that's very necessary. One time I was sending a screenshot of my chat, my conversation with one devotee to my spiritual master. I sent, and then he asked me, how did you do that? Normally he just forward the WhatsApp message to me and it's written there, forwarded, right? But when you click a screenshot, you take a screenshot, you send, so it looks like very original. And then he asked me, how did you do that? And then I explained, you have to press this button and that button together, it becomes screenshot. And then he tried it and he said that, wow, this was when 3 years ago when I was visiting ISKCON Visakhapatnam, ISKCON Vizag. Said that, wow, this is new for me. Thank you, Prabhu, for your instruction. And I feel bad. I feel bad about that. He said that, thank you for instructing me. So of course he makes joke out of that. He's joking. But that Srila Prabhupada explained here that the advice here refers to the spiritual advice. So as disciple, we should not advise our guru how to advance spiritually because he knows more than us. But in terms of material, how to use this and that, that's okay. And sometimes we may ask that, what if our spiritual master seems to be deviating? So there is a time actually to, we call it Guru Tyaga, or rejecting spiritual master. But we as a disciple, we have no right to judge that. So better we report to the authority, and the authority, to the Guru Service Committee, GBC, they will take up the matter. But we don't have that right, okay, to correct spiritual master. I apologize, I'm taking so much time here. Okay, that's it. Finish. Our class is finished. Another thing I would like to mention, just to close on this, I would advise you, although the Harinam Chintamani by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, not part of our Bhakti Sastri course, but I would advise you should read this book, specifically in chapter number 4 and 6. Chapter 4 and 6 dealing with the Vaisnava Parat and Guru Avagya. So Harinam Chintamani, for those who never even touched the book, I would, but I'm pretty sure that, we have been long here in Krishna consciousness practice. We must have read this book, Harinam Chintamani. It's a nice book. It's not so big. It's actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur, re-narrate the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur in the Antyalila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, but in much detail. And in Harinam Chintamani, it's just explaining specifically about the 10 offenses against the holy name. First, he glorified the holy names when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas how to deliver all these living entities. Haridas explained the glories of the holy names and avoid the 10 offenses of the holy names. And then he also explained about the offenses against the worship. Should be careful. So it's a nice book. So I would recommend you, if you really want to understand our today's class in more deeper understanding, please read the Harinam Chintamani chapter 4 and 6. Hare Krishna. Okay, I will not take any further ado here. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo. Hare Krishna.